It was 2017, and I was looking for a new game to play. Dark Souls 3 came up in my Xbox store. I'd heard vaguely about a series called Dark Souls, but what I knew was murky and impressionistic. I think I knew that they had a reputation for being hard, and that's about it. I decided to buy it and give it a go. I fired it up, and right away, I knew this was something different. The starting menu music sets the tone. It's absolutely gorgeous. It also keys you in immediately that this is a game that takes its aesthetics seriously. This is a skillfully crafted soundtrack placed right at the beginning of a video game. Then the cutscene plays. Dark Souls 3 excels at cutscenes. It might seem silly or unimportant, but I am a total simp for a good cutscene. They bring to the fore the natural cinematographic qualities of gaming, and here they introduce Dark Souls' incredible facility with language. These authors deserve a medal. The intentionally archaizing language effectively creates a sense of distance, and it is also just a pleasure to listen to. This is of course a throwback to Dark Souls 1, but I can't describe the butterflies I get when I hear the narrator open our journey with the words, "Yes, indeed." It is called Lothric. And the conclusion,
And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
we enter the character creation menu, and then the tutorial section of the game. There's an interesting conceptual overlap here. Both provide some explanation, but not a lot. Certainly not enough to say, oh, I totally get this. When you build your first DS character, there's enough there that you sort of understand, but you're also faced quite clearly with the magnitude of what you don't understand. In the tutorial area, small signs tell you what to do to dodge or to parry, but they don't tell you when to dodge and parry. Given the centrality of timing to the mechanics of this game, it's a pretty jarring omission. It's here that a new player has their first encounter with the get good ethos of these games. Non-Souls players might not know about the incredibly loaded constellation of meanings, tones, and interactions that swirl around the phrase get good. But get good is, on the one hand, a toxic dismissal born in the fetid miasma of subreddits, of struggling players or valid subjective opinions. On the other hand, however, it's a perfectly legitimate synopsis of how these games work and what makes them so rewarding. These are not games that hold your hand. They give you enough information to get your basic bearings, but they also temper you in the fire of brutal, relentless combat that demands extreme technical precision. And that brutality crashed over me when I stepped into the arena with Udex Gundyr and traveled to the high wall of Lothric. I'd never experienced combat like this. In so many games you can button mash your way through. There's very little to worry about in the way of timing your evasions, stamina is hardly a factor, and the window for parrying is wide enough to drive a truck through. But not here. To the uninitiated, Gundyr's vacillation between rapid attacks and delayed slams feels unintelligible. I died a lot. But with each successive death, I learned the timing of a new move. Little by little, I got good. When I pulled out the victory, the relief and sense of accomplishment was exhilarating. I strolled through the gates with renewed confidence, only to be instantly obliterated by an emaciated samurai in a loincloth. It would not, it turned out, be all a breeze from there. Over at Lothric, every enemy could destroy me in a few strikes. I remember thinking that the distance between bonfires was unfathomably large, just an impossible feat. These days I find DS3 quite generous with checkpoints, and Elden Ring absolutely lavish with them, but not back then. I both loved it and hated it. My first playthrough of DS3 witnessed by far my most frustrating moments in my years of gaming, but also my biggest sense of accomplishment and the most nail-biting waves of adrenaline. Dark Souls turns combat into an art of technical mastery. You have to read your enemies closely, learn their moves, and execute your responses with precision. I have become addicted to that feeling of dawning cognitive clarity that comes with FromSoft boss encounters. When you first step into an arena, the flurry of attack feels unendurable and totally illegible. It seems impossible that any human being could react to these moves. You die, you come back and die again, but you recognize a move from last time. A few more times, and it's almost like the fight is now happening in slow motion. Obviously, it's the same speed, but you recognize the patterns. You learn when to react, and suddenly those windows for punishment and dodging seem obvious and intuitive. I totally love it. It might seem silly to feel this way about a game, but I feel legitimate pride when I master a difficult fight. Pontiff Sullivan kicked my ass over and over again the first time I played, but last week I no-hitted him without parrying. I dodged that insane barrage of relentless attacks. I rolled through his 6-move combo. It just feels great. You know it once you've done it. But Dark Souls 3 offers more than just a sense of personal achievement. It offers some of the most well-thought-out, technically and visually arresting boss fights in gaming. Watching the Abyss Watchers sweep across the arena with almost literal fluidity took my breath away. And then, of course, we come to my boys, my favorite pair of sickly, sequestered twins, Lothric and Lorien. Everything about this fight slaps. The cutscene, the tragedy of forcing these mutually devoted siblings to meet a cruel fate they've sought so hard to avoid. But more than anything, it's the mechanics. Lorien's moveset isn't particularly complicated, but it's simultaneously fast and slow. Fast in that his attacks hit hard and start quick, slow in that they last long. What this means is that dodging either too late or too early is going to get you massively punished. It is a skill check of everything that the game has taught you so far. You move with Lorien in a way that feels almost choreographed, like a dance. The teleportation keeps things lively while never being unfair. All of this is set against an absolute banger of a soundtrack. And it is indeed the boss fights that keep me coming back to this game. The roster features some truly incredible boss encounters. The Abyss Watchers, Pontiff, the Twin Princes, Sister Frida, and of course, the final boss of the DLC. Singing Slave Knight Gael's praises might be unoriginal, but that's because the transcendence of this fight is so undeniable. I knew within seconds that it was something special. In the first phase, he's highly mobile, lurching across the arena like a beast. The moves are fast, but I felt well trained to react to them, which was extremely gratifying. The aesthetic in the story is also incredible. 2 warriors, the last people on Earth, fighting it out at the end of time. It's absolutely dope. Then, in Phase 2, he becomes more stationary, but also more intense. His cape gets a hitbox, and you have to constantly dodge it with great precision to avoid taking any end damage. Here, the player gets to show what they've learned about position and motion. You want to roll into the attack when you can and take advantage of invincibility frames, but you can't be too far back as the larger size of the cape further from his body means that you'll be within the hitbox when the iframes expire. The virtue of this constantly iterating process of teaching and testing is not just that you've gotten to see how you've grown as a player, but also that you get to enact that knowledge into a mesmerizing spectacle like this. In the third phase, he's back in motion, adding to his second phase moveset while the souls he's consumed start radiating off of him and punctuating the arena with lightning. It's organized chaos, a truly beautiful crescendo to this fight, and the music drives it all home. It's appropriately epic, but there's also a somberness that both complements his lore and the knowledge that this is the end of the series. Gael isn't the hardest boss. He's hard, but he's not the hardest. But he is the best because he represents what this game offers: artistry, aesthetics, and storytelling conjoined with technical sophistication. I've heard some people complain about the ability to beat DS3 with relatively simple mechanics of just rolling and light attacking, but I think that actually speaks to the magnitude of the accomplishment of this game. There are many tools you can use to help you on your journey in DS3, but at the end of the day, this game that demands singular mastery of timing and technique can be beaten with 2 buttons and a joystick.